What's up, guys? Welcome back. Glad you're here. On today's episode, we're going to be looking at one of the newest decks to come out of the Copag series. That's right, I know the world was pumped for this. So was I. We're going to be looking at the new Copag Alpha Cardistry deck. That's right, by Cartamundi. So, buckle in your seatbelts, because we're going there. Let's go! The Copag Alpha Cardistry deck by Cartamundi is kind of on the same line as its predecessors before it, which were the Touch Origins and the Touch Pulse Cardistry decks that we've seen before that kind of follow in the same suit, so to speak. The front of the tuck box is going to have the back design or front design, depending on how you look at this deck, which we'll pretty much get into momentarily. It's going to say Copag with the Cartamundi logo there on the top middle. It's going to say 310 there in the direct middle. It's going to have this pretty much kind of white emerald-ish kind of red, almost amber colored background in the lines, and it's going to say Cardistry cards on the bottom. The left side is going to say True Linen B9 finish. The right is going to say Cardistry Faces Poker Size. The bottom of the deck is going to have a UPC on the right and some ad copy there on the left with the Cartamundi logo. The back of the tuck box is going to have that same kind of colorway except flip-flopped. This time around it's going to have this almost fading from that same reddish to kind of even a purplish hue, with the same where the lines were are now flipped to white. The top of the tuck box is going to have no seal, making this very quick and easy to open and get to, and it's going to have Copag with the Cartamundi logo on top. The inside of the tuck box is that same kind of purple hue that kind of fades in and out on the inside, and right on the inner flap it's going to say Show Off in white. Alright, so this deck is a two-sided deck. That's right, since there are no pips and indices, courts, or anything, these are only cardistry faces, which means this deck was made only for cardistry. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's right, it's a full bleed borderless deck as well, as you can see. And depending on how you kind of organize this deck is going to kind of depend on what kind of design you're working with. We'll show that here very shortly. On this side of the deck, you're going to have those same white lines, kind of a mosaic almost look, if you really look, almost like an eyeball there in the middle. It's going to have those same reds that kind of fade in and out with that nice kind of purplish hue. And as far as the other side of the deck, like I said, this is a full bleed deck. On this side, it's going to be the exact opposite. So where the lines were white, now the back, mainly the majority of it is white, and the inner lines and workings are that same kind of red, purplish blue color that we see throughout the design. Alright guys, so I want to show you a couple really cool things about this deck real quick, just to show you, so let's take a look. Alright guys and girls, so with this deck, the really cool thing about it is, and I know I don't really do this much, but I had to show you what I mean. Alright, so as you can see, this deck is white with the different colors on one side and blue and red on the other, so depending on which way you fan it or flourish it. For instance, you fan it this way, you're gonna have that nice blue and white. You fan it again, you're gonna have that red and white. Okay, same thing with the back side here. You do it this way, you're gonna have more white than blue. Turn around and fan it again, you're gonna have more white than red. Same thing even for the other hand, okay? You go this way, you're gonna have this really cool design here, and then you're gonna have this really cool design here, and then the same side goes for the back here. You're gonna have a really nice big body of white, and then a nice big body of white again with the blue. Now, there is a really cool thing about this deck also that I want you guys to see. So because it is a flip-flop deck, if you take half of this deck and literally ferro it into the other side, you can either do it this way into itself, or I personally like to do it this way, and I'll show you what I mean. This is really cool. So if you ferro, okay, and if you guys aren't familiar with the ferro, you just interweave the cards with each other, so it's every other card, okay? And literally you're gonna go this side to this side, all right, on half and half of the deck. And what you're gonna end up with is really cool. You're gonna have these two different design elements, and it's gonna be the same thing because guess what? Half of the deck is intertwined with the other half, so it's really gonna be cool looking, especially when you do certain fans, different flourishes, the whole nine. Really cool. And the same thing goes for this side too. So you're gonna have that almost blue checkerboard looking, kind of ordeal, and the same with this side with the red. So really your imagination is really limited to how and what you want to do. So yeah, really fun deck. Like I said, whatever your imagination can kind of bring you to, that's your call. So yeah, so have fun, play with it. If anything, tag me on some posts on Instagram, show me what you came up with, as well as Cartamundi, and yeah, so enjoy. So if you're familiar with Cartamundi, you know they print some of the best decks, if not the best decks in the world. This one is no different. This one is printed like the previous Copag decks with their Cardistry B9 stock. That's right, it's going to have a true linen finish. These cards are very snappy and thick, which means they're going to last long for a lot of wear and tear. Alright, so what are my final thoughts on this deck? I give it a 5 out of 5. It's everything that you want it to be. I'm not a fan of the, no faces type of thing, but it wasn't marketed for that. And yeah, for what it is, I give it a 5 out of 5. Great handling deck. Cartamundi, they don't put out anything under par. They're great. I've always been an avid ambassador for Cartamundi and promoting their products. Actually, probably my next deck that I do, whether it be the V2s of the Paradigms or a new Magic inspired deck that I'm working on, it's probably going to print through Cartamundi. Not on the sure side of that or whatnot, but we're going to see how that pans out. But other than that, like I said, great deck. Whether you're just starting out in Cardistry like myself, as far as practicing different packet cuts, moves, fans, flourishes, the whole nine, or you're a seasoned vet, I mean, honestly, this is for you. You can't go wrong. For the price point, I forget what it is. I mean, it's not much. You can't go wrong. So, this is one of those decks you can pick it up, you can beat it up. It's great. And with it having that, that older stock, which had the old, B9 Cardistry stock, it's a thicker stock deck. So literally you can almost separate this into two different style decks. Like you can separate it into two halves and almost have two decks out of it to play with, and kind of mess with. I don't know. It's something I do, because a lot of times, especially in sleight of hand with Magic and stuff, sometimes you start off with not a whole deck to kind of get your hands with that muscle memory. It's kind of one of those type of things. So Yeah. So, like I said, I'll link this all below where you guys can go ahead and check this deck out and get yourself 1, 2, 10, 12, doesn't matter, but I definitely suggest you go ahead and check this out. So, I do want to thank the great people over at Cartamundi for allowing me to have this deck to allow me to do the review for you. And as always, if you enjoyed this review as much as I enjoyed doing it for you, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because it is free. And I will see you beautiful people, that's right, on the next one.